So regression analysis, ladies and gentlemen, regression analysis basically this is a statistical tool. It is a statistical tool that is used to develop straight line equations of the form y equals a plus bx. Straight line equations of the form y equals a plus bx. And if you remember, ladies and gentlemen, a is what we call the y-intercept, and the b is what we call, ladies and gentlemen, the gradient. B is what we call the gradient. B is what we call the gradient. Now, regression analysis gives us the methodology of getting the gradient and the y-intercept. Regression analysis, I'm repeating again, gives us the methodology of getting the gradient B and the y-intercept. And how do we apply this, ladies and gentlemen? For us to get B, I'm so sure there must be somebody here who is able to remember the formula, who is able to write for us the numerator of getting B. It doesn't matter how you write your sum, I'll be able to understand. When you say N, then you write sum in a form of SUM, etc. I'll be able to understand. I would want to see whether there is a student who was able to pick something very correct from the video, who will be able to give us the formula of getting the numerator of B. The formula of getting the numerator of B. The formula for getting the numerator. The numerator, or rather numerator. So very good. I can see in this case here, very good. Somebody who is very creative. Amesema hapa B equals N summations of XY. Summations of XY minus summation of X, summation of Y. All over, how about the denominator? How about the denominator? How about the creativity is essential? Creativity is important. Creativity is important. Creativity is important. Creativity is important. So this is a formula of getting the numerator of B. How about, in this case here, the denominator? You can see what Bwana Amaya is saying. Amaya anasema kwamba to get the denominator here, we shall be taking N summations of X squared minus into bracket summation of X who squared. So this is very important for us. Very important for us. How about the numerator? How do we get the numerator? To help you very quickly here, to get A, or rather to get A, which is the intercept, we normally take summation of Y minus B summation of X all over N. All over N. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would want to progress to something different, but before I do so, I would want to know whether all of us have been able to write up to here. So you simply say Y for yes. You simply say Y for yes. You say Y for yes. That is the surest way of Mwalimu knowing that you guys are able to see his board, etc., etc., etc. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, if that is the case, then I would want again to ask you great students of mine a question. Is there any student who is attending for the very first time this QA class? This QA class, is there anybody who is attending for the very first time into my QA class? Okay. Then a short illustration for this. If you're given here XY, if you're given XY, perhaps they give you 6, 8, perhaps 13 there, and then we have 7, 9, and maybe 15 there, and maybe 15 there, and maybe 15 there, right? And then, ladies and gentlemen, somebody will need you are required here to determine A and B. You determine A and B using regression analysis. Determine A and B using regression analysis. Determine A and B using regression analysis. So using regression analysis, ladies and gentlemen, anytime anybody talks of regression analysis, ascertainment of parameters using regression analysis, what you're supposed to do is to come and create some 2 columns. The first column will capture the multiple xy. The second column will capture the multiple x squared. The multiple x squared. Basically, we want to take care of this and this. Abracadabra xy means we are multiplying. These are the two additional columns that we would need for us to be able to get regressional parameters. So I need the column of xy first. So what is 6 times 7? Abracadabra, pata potea. Pata potea. Please give me the multiples. What is 6 times 7? What is 6 times 7? Somebody give me the multiples. Somebody give me the multiples. 42. How about 8 times 9? How about 8 times? I know the multiples, but I would want really you guys to be engaged into this. 72. This one for sure I don't know offered. The third one I don't know offered. 13 times 15 gives me what figure? 13 times 15 will give me what figure? 13 times 15 will give me what figure? Brian Anami anasema 195. Once I do this column, I know that the next column is all about squaring x. So x squared. So x squared, what do we have? 6 squared, 8 squared, 13 squared. So could you kindly give me these figures now? What is 6 squared? This is 36. This is 8 squared, which gives me 64. And then we have 13 squared, which gives me 100 what here? 69. Ladies and gentlemen, if you remember from my video that I was able to demonstrate this thing very clearly, if you can remember, after you've been able to do, like now we have 4 columns here, regression is a sigma thing. Regression is a summations thing. So we need these summations here. So please come and give us all the summations down here. You start with summation of x. You start with summation of, the first column will give me summation of x. The second column will give me summation of y. The third column will give me summation of xy. The fourth column will give me summation of x squared. So could you kindly help us do this? So according to Sharon, anasema ya kwanza 27. Summation of x. Summation of x in 27. How about the other students? Please help me out. And of course, I know I'm a little bit fast, simply because if I move very slowly, there are students that had watched a video of this who will really be bored. I have to balance, So Fatma anasema 27 bado. Fatma anasema 27. 27. Or Fatma, you're talking about the first one. Next is 31. Next is 31. Thank you very much. How about the third one? Summation of xy. Sharon tells me it is 269. Sharon tells me it is 269. Summation of x squared. Summation of x squared. What do we have under summation of x squared? 309. Thank you very much. So remember that these are what here, somebody? These are summations. Summations like that. Thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would want us to move to the next level, which basically is plugging in these summations into the formulas. We plug them in. So the very first thing that I would want some good student here to tell me is the value of n. The value of n, is there anybody who is able to see the value of n? First of all, n stands for number of points. Number of points. Remember on a Cartesian plane, this is how our points look like. This is how our points look like. If this is, ladies and gentlemen, point A, it has got x coordinate and a y coordinate. So meaning that when you see this xy, like this is point number 1, point number 2, point number 3, they are correct. N is 3. Please don't count the totals. Don't count the totals. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment I'm okay with that, the next thing, of course, now is to plug in the values that we have in the formula. The values that we have in the formula. So please come and give me here the value of B. So the value of B, what do we have here? Somebody look at this. They want me to start with N. Oh, Brian tells me to interchange 269 and 309. So they are telling me that these should be 309 and these should be 269. Can somebody in this case here confirm? Esther is saying yes. Esther is saying yes. Today I haven't had anything from Grace. Grace, I'm yet to hear from you. Yes, thank you very much. And sorry for that erroneous swap. So n is 3. So 3 times summation of xy is this, which is 309, minus summation x alone, which is 27, times summation y. Summation y, ladies and gentlemen, is 31. Summation y is 31. All over n again, which is 3 times. So this is quite confusing. This confuses so many students. Iko mwingine aliniambia ati mwalimu summation x squared ati ni sawa na 27 ex at squared at 27. Uongo. This summation x squared, if you look at it very well, first of all, they want you to square what here? X alone. So they want you to square x alone. They want you to square x alone like that. Summation of x squared is here. So it is 269 minus into bracket. Now you can see they want us to encapsulate summation of x in brackets. The summation of x is 27. And then outside bracket, we do what here? We square. We square. So could you kindly do me a favor, and a big favor for that matter? Could you kindly give me the value of the numerator? Please, using your calculator, give me the value of the numerator. Give me the value of the numerator. So according to Fatma Mohammed, anasema 90. James Areba amesema pia ukichukua 3 times 309 minus 27 times 31. James Areba anasema kwamba ya numerator ni 90. Numerator at numerator ni 90. Can a different student give me the value of the denominator now? Denominator is 3 times 269 minus open brackets 27 squared. 27 squared according to Fatma gives me 78. Of course, I would want this corroborated. I would want another student in this case here to give me, to confirm whether this 78 is correct. Whether 78 is correct. Sharon Gaetano, very good. Collins also has confirmed the 78. Maureen has also confirmed the 78. Thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, then do me a favor. Please go ahead and give me the quotient here. What is 90 divided by 78? What is 90 divided by 78? So Sharon tells me it is 1.154 like that. 1.154 like that. Great. So many guys have been able to confirm. Amaya has gone to four decimal places. So if Amaya goes to 4 decimal places like what I'm seeing, if you want us to put this to be 3 decimal places, then don't you think that this should be 1.155? If you want us to do 3 decimal places, don't you think? From what I've seen, it is 1.1538. Then you guys were okay. You are correct. It's supposed to be 1.15 what here? 1.154. Thank you very much. Let's restrict ourselves here to 3 decimal places. That is quite good enough for us. That is quite good enough for us. Ladies and gentlemen, this figure here will be stored somewhere at the back of my mind because I need it here. While calculating A, I need the value of B. So this figure, I have to really write it permanently somewhere at the back of my mind. So please come and give me the value of A. So how do we get A? To get A, we are taking summation of Y. Summation of Y is here. Summation of Y is here. It is 31 minus the value of B that we got. The value of B that we got, ladies and gentlemen, was 1.154 times summation of X. Summation of X happens to be what here, somebody? 27. Everything got to be divided by N, which is 3. So here you have to be very careful. Here you have to be very careful. Please pick the numerator alone. Handle it. Remember, body mass tells you that this over is like brackets. So if it's like brackets, ensure that first of all you evaluate the numerator value and then the denominator value separately, and then now you go ahead to give us the quotient. So we have to get the numerator alone. So who is that student who will be able to give me the numerator alone? I can see people here, gentlemen and ladies here, who have got very good names. Very good names. They should be able really to assist me. Very good names. Lynn has given me a dash. Negative 0.158. So somebody tells me that the numerator is negative 0.158. So divide this by what here? By 3. Divide this by 3. Divide this by 3, and I expect you, great students of mine, to give me an answer in terms of 2 decimal, or not 2, but 3. Final answer in terms of 3 decimal places. So when you take this, you divide by this. According to Amaya, amesema ni minus 0 at a Collins 0.053. These are good students. Wamesema kwamba A should be negative 0.053 like that. Therefore, remember, finally, you guys have a responsibility of writing for us the value, or rather the formula for y. You have the responsibility of connecting y and x using the connectors A and B. So in that case, ladies and gentlemen, my y here will be equal to A which is minus 0.053 plus B. it's 1.154 x like that. So ladies and gentlemen, remember that our work at the end of it all is to provide the y equation, the straight line equation, by bringing in the values of A and B that you have gotten. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sure I've moved quite fast. What I do not know is whether we have understood it fully up to here. Is there anybody who has a question? Now, first of all, let me ask the first question. Have we followed really 100% all of us up to where we are? If we have, simply you say why. Why for yes. Don't write so many things. If you've been able to follow, like Robert says, yes. And please don't shy away. James says yes. Sharon, yes. 3 out of 30, that's quite a small percentage. So those are 6 students. I always work with about 50%, because I know that 50% wanajamaza. Naweza kwamba wajafuata. Fatma is honest. Fatma amesema she's getting a different value of A. Fatma angalia, Fatma angalia. Tumesema A namna gani? Ni summation of y minus b summation of x over n. Ukipata figure tofauti mimi najua summation of y hapa ni gani jameni? Ni 31 minus b itself, which is this one, times summations of x. Summations of x ni gani somebody? Ni 27. Summation of x is 27. Divide this by number of points, and how many of them are they? 3. Fatima, mali umekosea, haujatafuta numerator kando. Lazima utafute numerator kando na calculator yako. Numerator, useme 31 minus 1.154 times 27. Useme equals Fatima. Please, ukifanya, mimi najua nimemark exams za CASNEB for so long. I've marked CASNEB exams for so long, and I know the biggest mistake that students do. Utapata mwanafunzi wengi hata Fatma akifungua roho vizuri aseme, anasema kwa calculator 31 minus 1.154 times 27, alafu anasema divide by what? By 3. So unakuta calculator yake imepick this alone to be divided by what? And you see this 3 is supposed to be a divisor for both. And that is why I started by telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that this is like a bracket, which tells you, first of all, hey, handle me, who is up there in the numerator first. Handle me from up there. I'm on top of the tree. First of all, take care of me. Once you do that, the question now can come in much later. I hope, Fatima, now we are together. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here we have been able to establish that for sure, there is what we call a function that we have been able to establish very well. But now, how strongly are the variables x and y related? Ladies and gentlemen, you could get into a marriage. Fine. But even in this marriage, you could be just like people who never got married in the first place. You don't rhyme at all, right? So you come in this case here into the house, bwana akiangalia TV, mama ako jikoni, mama ametoka upstairs, namna hiyo, hamuongeleshani. So at the end of the day, if we have got two functionalities, we've got two variables here, y and x, that have been married into a model, we need to go a step further to assess and see what is the bond between these y and x. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, we are going into what we call correlation analysis. Correlation analysis. This is the bond analysis. And this bond analysis will always answer the question. It answers the question. It answers the question, how strongly are the variables related? How strongly are the variables related? How strongly are the variables related? And we shall be able to see that variables that are really related in a very strong way, their correlation coefficient should be what here, somebody? More than 75%. Anytime you've got, ladies and gentlemen, two variables, x and y, having a coefficient between them, frictional coefficient between them over at least 75%, then we say that those two variables are strongly related. Let me tell you for sure, I know most of you here are young, but if you are to get married, and then in this case here, your level of similarity or agreement tunes into this figure or above, then that is quite a great marriage. There is quite a big bond, right, between the two, right? But again, remember, if, for example, you come and get, ladies and gentlemen, a relationship that is perfect, 100%, then this one is just some way of cheat. If you get a couple, ladies and gentlemen, that agrees 100% in everything, trust you me, that one of those couple members, one of them is irrelevant, and in most cases, it is the husband. If you're able to agree 100%, huyo akisema jump, wewe kazi unauliza, hata uulize why, unasema how high do you want me to jump? Right? Ile ambayo unaona sasa hivi unapata pasta na bibi yake anakuja anasema ati baby tulipika nini asubuhi for breakfast. Ile yote hawezi mkakuwa related 100%. That is what we call perfect models, which in this case here can never. Yes, thank you very much, James. At least James, I can see James. James sio kijana sana. James ameelewa. Unajua wale ambao bado wako chini kidogo kiumri, waona kama nikiolewa leo atakuwa 100%. Hakuna. If you get someone who is even 50%, umejaribu sana. Wengi ni negative. Kama hapa tutasoma kuhusu negative relationships, international disaster. So how strongly are the variables related? How strongly are the variables related is what we shall be looking at. And the bond analysis, there are those of you whose relationships will be at 0. Others will be opposite. Opposite, napata mama anasema, mzee, tununue shamba. Mzee anasema, mimi sitaki mambo ya shamba, mimi nataka kamare. You see, now that is a negative relationship. Where will you take each other? Right? Wewe unasema kamare, wewe unasema real asset. You're in a negative relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, for us here, there are two models which are normally used to measure correlation. So there are two models. We're writing our notes there that there are two models used to measure correlation. Used to measure correlation. Number one, ladies and gentlemen, we have what we call the Carl-Pearson's model. The Carl-Pearson's model. And then number two, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Rank-Spearman's model. Both of them are denoted with R. Both of them are denoted with what here? With R. Both of them are denoted with R. And if you look at your past papers, in most cases, you'll be told to differentiate between these two correlation measures. Ladies and gentlemen, we normally use Carl-Pearson's model whenever the variables that we have are quantitative in nature. Whenever the variables that we have are quantitative, so quantitative variables. If I get those variables that I'm able to quantify means what here? Measurable or countable. If, for instance, I wanted to know how many students we have at RCM online classes, what I'll do is to just log into the Zoom meetings that you have with your teachers, and then I'll be able to count. So number of students, of course, they keep on varying. Number of students, ladies and gentlemen, is a quantitative variable. Is a variable whose values I'll be able to get through counting. If, for example, today, like nowadays, I think because of the nature of my work, I sit quite a lot. I'm really feeling that I'm gaining a lot of weight. So it's something I'm trying to work on. It's something in this case that every other day nowadays I have to stand on some weighing scale. Like just the other day, it was yesterday actually, I went on to a weighing scale and I was really, demotivated because instead of my weight reducing because of the kind of gym that I'm hitting every day, my weight is doing what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, weight is a measurable thing. Any variable that you've got to measure or count for you to be able to ascertain its value, it is what here a quantitative. So if somebody asks you to define a quantitative variables are those variables that are either measurable or in this case here countable. For example, if you want to know my height, you'll come and use a tape measure. You measure. How about this Spearman's? We normally use the rank Spearman's model, ladies and gentlemen, to capture what we call qualitative variables. Qualitative variables are those variables you cannot measure, you cannot count. Those variables that you can't measure, you can't count. You can't measure, you can't count are called what here, somebody? Qualitative variables. Very good example of a qualitative variable, ladies and gentlemen, is female beauty. Female beauty. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no way you'll be able to measure how beautiful a lady is. Impossible. That's an impossibility. So the gentleman here, Frederick, there is no way you can start telling us that my wife is 90% beautiful. I mean, no. This is a qualitative variable. And that is where all qualitative variables are what here? They are subjective. What you are seeing to be beautiful may not be beautiful to someone else. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, qualitative variables in terms of measuring the bond, you must come and do what the only thing you can do is to have judges. Have, for example, judge 1. And then, for example, here we have judge 2. So these judges will be like gentlemen who are what here? Gentlemen who are idlers out here. You get some idlers, and then you give them names of ladies. You have, for example, here, Mother Karua. We have, for example, I want ladies that all of us will be knowing. Please give me names of ladies that you know out there. These politicians, you know them. Please shout their names. Those ladies that you know, like Wanjiro, Margaret. Ijina ni ngumu kuandika, tunione kama nitaipata. Margaret Wanjiro. Nani mwingine hawajasema bado. I want you guys to don't feel shy. Anne Waiguru, thank you very much. Pasaris, yes. Anne Waiguru. Then we have Pasaris. Kwani hakuna hawa politicians kutoka Nyanza, nyinyi mnajua ni beautiful. Mbona mnasema wote wapande moja sasa Mbona mnasema wapande moja? Hakuna hata kutoka Margaret, hapana. Hiyo sasa mmesema wengi sana pande moja. Ama Pasaris ni Pasaris ni Nyanza? Hapana. Sema mwingine hata kutoka Nyanza namna hii. Millicent, yes. We have Millicent. Now, I would want in this case, ladies and gentlemen, for purposes, Gladys Omanga, yes, again, Ometosha, for purposes of our study here, I would want no, Brian, that is a bad one. That one, if we give that example here, she may come for us, Akothe may come for us. Very good. Now, I want in this case here some two gentlemen here to try ranking these ladies here in terms of their beauty. And I would want in this case here volunteers, or rather because of time, I would want Gibson, bila kuogopa chochote. Ukiangalia, naweza kukupatia number 1 hapa to be the most beautiful. Hata mimi ni mzee lakini naweza kajaji. Naweza nikajaji. Lakini leo sitaki kujaji. Jaji ni nyinyi. Na nataka wanaume wawili. Gibson anipatie yake na Brian anipatie wake. So Gibson amesema Pasaris number 1, Thank you very much. How about number 2, Gibson? Haraka haraka Gibson. Number 2, tukisema just the first letter. Kuna ma M mingi. Number 2 ni gani? Number 2 ni gani? Number 2 ni gani? Number 2 ni nani? I mean, Kiswahili ngumu. Number 2, number 2, number 2, number 2, number 2, number 2. According to Gibson. Gibson hata ukitype tu kidogo initials. Waiguru takes number 2. Waiguru takes number 2. Number 3. James, wewe sijakupatia kazi. James, sijakupea kazi. Sijakupatia kazi. Ni watu wawili nimepatia kazi. Gibson, bado niko kwako Gibson. Number 3 nani? Number 3 nani Gibson? Number 3 nani? Millicent. Number 3 Millicent, number 3. Number 4, number 4, number 4, number 4. Number 4, number 4, number 4. Number 4, number 4, number 4. Gibson, bado niko kwako Gibson. Gibson niko kwako. Margaret. So Margaret in this case here, number 4 is Margaret Wanjiro. And then my neighbor here at Isinya, my neighbor here, Mother Karua, got a very good property at Isinya. Anakula the last number, last position. This is a female beauty contest. How about judge number 2? Judge number 2, he said is Brian. Brian, very fast, please give me. Remember, what may be beautiful to Gibson may not be beautiful to Judge 2. May not be beautiful in this case here to Brian. So Brian, please give me your rankings very fast. So Millicent, Pasaris, Waiguru. So Millicent number 1, Pasaris number 2, Waiguru number 3, Waiguru number 3. Aha. Aki muspatie Karua nyote last. Aki. Muspatie Karua nyote last. Anyway, my point here is at home. Ladies and gentlemen, disqualified. We shall overcome. This is a qualitative variable. It's a qualitative variable. It is a qualitative variable. It is a qualitative what here? Variable. Female beauty, you can't attach a value to this. And all qualitative variables, for purposes of measuring them, then the only way is to have various judges ranking them. And if it is a ranks that you have, ladies and gentlemen, then the only model you can use is the Spearman ranks model. Spearman's ranks model. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get back here. Please write for me there, Carl Pearson's model. Carl Pearson's model. So the Carl Pearson's model, what do we have here for Carl Pearson's model? For Carl Pearson's model, what do we have here for Carl Pearson's model? So for Carl Pearson's model, ladies and gentlemen, I need to know the formula of getting R. I need to know the formula of getting R. Anytime they mention Carl Pearson's model R, first of all, I'll be forced to remember the formula of getting B, because there is quite a big relationship between B and R. And B is something I will never forget. I know that B equals n summations of xy minus sum of x, sum of y, all over n summations of x squared, bracket sum of x squared. You have to cram this the way I've crammed it myself. That is the formula of getting B. That is the formula of getting B. That is the formula of getting B, right? Now, ladies and gentlemen, listen and listen to me very well. Now come and get R. R stands for what we call the correlation. The correlation, what here? Coefficient. The correlation coefficient. So when you tell me to give you the correlation coefficient, there is one thing. I may forget about so many things, but there is one thing that I will never forget about. That the numerator of R and the numerator of B are the same. Ladies and gentlemen, let me repeat this. Ladies and gentlemen, I may forget about many things, about these formulas. But one thing that will never, ever escape my memories, which I'll always remember, is that the numerator of R is the same as the numerator of boy, this B. So the numerators are the same. So we have here n summations of xy minus summation of x, summation of y, all over. Now, the moment I've taken care of the numerator, there is also something that I know. about the denominator. There is also a relationship about the denominators. If I understand this, I've understood the entire thing. So for the denominator, what I need to do is to come and copy this. So it is n summation of x squared minus summation of x, what here, squared like that. Great, great. Now listen. This is correlation. This is correlation. This is correlation. Ladies and gentlemen, anytime umesikia jina ko ikisemekana mahali, anytime umesikia jina ko ikisemekana mahali, and you happen to be a lady, please, you're supposed to run away very fast. This core thing is not a very good thing. Oh, it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. This core thing is a bad thing. Ukienda usikie mtu amesema, for example, co-wife. Aya. Namaanisha namna gani? 2 or even more. Bad husbands, 2 or even more, like that. So the same case, ukisikia correlation, kwa denominator, hawezi ukakuwa na x alone. Correlation, it is x and y. So you must come, ladies and gentlemen, here and expand your denominator. How do you expand it? To bring the other partner. To bring the other partner. And who is the natural partner here? It is y. And he has to take the same format. He has to take the same format. And this is it. So nitakuja niseme hapa n summation of y, same format with this, minus open brackets. Instead of saying sum of x, I'll come and say sum of y. And then we do what here? Somebody will say squared like that. It doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. Mkiwa katika this polygamy relationship, ladies and gentlemen, lazima mvae kofia. Hawa wanavaa kofia. Hizi kofia ni gani? Ni ma square root. Sio mchezo kwa polygamy. Think it's a joke. Hapa katikati kuna nini? Iko mwingine aliandika formula vizuri kwa exam hivi just the other day. Hapa katikati, you know, ladies and gentlemen, Saturn is real. Saturn is real and is there. But you can imagine somebody who gets this formula correctly, everything. Lakini hapa kawaida, ati anakuja pale anaweka plus. Unataka kusema usi shetani. Everything is correct. Lakini mwisho katikati hapa anaweka plus. So Saturn is real, and that is why you need always to bind him away. Whenever you're doing exams, ladies and gentlemen, lazima unamkemea kabisa, unasema apotee mbali, ashindwe kabisa. So hapa inafaa kuwa namna gani? Somebody always times. Correlation has got the 2 variables there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. Do me a favor. Please, could somebody go at the back of their books? At the back of their books. I'm not able to see what you are doing because you guys are so mean with yourselves. So mean with yourselves. There is nobody really who has ever even put their videos on for mwalimu even to know their faces. Nobody. But at times, there is a time I asked some students of Section 5 why they don't put on their cameras. Unajua mwalimu sasa tuko nyumbani saa 2 saa 3 usiku, tunaweza kuwa tumevaa pajama anyway. So is there somebody who has gone to the back of their books? Is there somebody who has gone to the back of their books? So on a blank page, I would want somebody to take a step of faith and try writing down the formula of R. And if you're able to get it correctly without really struggling, without really making reference to where you had written it, then, ladies and gentlemen, you're a brilliant student. You need to put up your hand wherever you are. Yes, and please don't play some monkey games here. Don't start, in this case, ladies and gentlemen, looking at, no. Just jog up your memory. Jog up your memory. Hata ukikosea, so what? It's part of the game. It's part of learning. It's part of learning. It's part of learning. I can see somebody who has known how to use emoji. Ladies and gentlemen, it's important as we use Zoom. If you don't want to miss physical classes, by the way, I don't miss physical classes personally. I don't miss physical classes personally because I believe the Zoom classes work magic. Know how to use emojis. These emojis is something that you need really to master. You know, this Zoom is the way to go. Even in future, all your board meetings will be through what here Zoom. So the people who are very effective, they know how to also make use of what here emojis, like somebody's clapping there. That's a good skill that you must learn. Emoji comes from the word emoticon. Emoticon comes from the word emotion. So you need to know how to portray your emotions while you are in a meeting. Emotions. For example, ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you without, in this case here, missing my words, I can assure you that if you're that student who always, even if you understand nothing, if you're that kind of a student who always smiles, like this is a great smile, great, you will pass this paper. Hii paper itaki makasiriko. If you're this kind of a student, ataka understand, unacheka tu, this paper is your paper for grabs, to grab this paper. Lakini ikiwa ni ule mwanafunzi emoji kila saa, emoji ni sawa za kusema nimekasirika, lakini wewe kila saa unakasirikia nani? Sasa angalia huyu. Anakasirikia nani? Right? Hii paper itaweza kuara sana. Hii paper inataka wanafunzi whose happiness index iko very high, very high. Kama huja understand, unasema mimi sija understand, unaweka thumbs down like that. Lakini kukasirika hii, makasiriko hapana. Hapana. Very good. So ushasoma something hapa, very important. Maybe huko unajua mimi ni mzee lakini mimi nafanya research sana. Nafanya research sana. Sana. We shall overcome. So you haven't yet answered my thing. So is there somebody, ladies and gentlemen, who has been able to write that formula R peke yake? Anybody who has been able to write that formula R peke yake bila kumake reference? Akiwe niongelesha raka. So James amesema yes. Any other student who has been able to do that, ladies and gentlemen? Any other student who has been able to do that? Kuandika correct formula. Kuandika correct formula. Raka. Sharon amesema yes. Rebecca amesema pia yes. Rebecca amesema yes. Thank you. Oh, ulicopy paste tena. Aya. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would want us to do just one question here for us to be thorough in this thing. And I would want to throw your memories quite back to May 2014, question number 2C. May 2014, question number 2 cow. May 2014, question number 2 cow. For those of you who have got these revision kits, I hope you have bought them. RCM's revision kits. Yes, for those of you who have got RCM's revision kits, it's on page number 77. Page number 77. Page number 77. Page number 77. Please confirm to me whether you have been able to get access to that question. Even if you don't have it, it's quite an easy one to write down. I'll be able to write it down for you, but do we have it? Do we have it? Do we have it? James Areba amesema yes. That's only one student out of 30. Adega amesema yes. So could you kindly do me a favor, because I can see those yeses are coming in, trickling quite few. Is it possible to take a snapshot of that question and then you throw it on our WhatsApp group? You simply take a photo of that question and share it on our WhatsApp group. You share it on our WhatsApp group. You share it on our WhatsApp group. Is it possible for you to do that? Is it possible for you to do that? So now I can start reading, because I'm so sure there must be somebody who is already doing that in my group. I'm so sure. Wanasema HealthWise Limited is a health insurance provider that has been in operation for the last 2 years. The cost accountant of the company is concerned with the high cost incurred by the agents of the company in making calls to prospective customers. The data below relates to the number of calls made by the agents and the turnover of the company. So number of calls made, and turnover of the company, And then they have gone ahead, ladies and gentlemen, to give me the number of calls, And then they have given me here turnover. Please remember that turnover is the same as sales. Turnover is the same as sales. So here they have given me 950. Here they have given me 250. Here we have 360. Here we have 484. Here we have got 590. Here we have got, ladies and gentlemen, 635. Here we have got 492. Here we have got 370. And then 415. So, ladies and gentlemen, if that is the case, this is what we need to do very first. This is what we need to do very first. Very first. QA is the best paper in CPA. So turnover ya kwanza wamenipatia 366. Tuko na 86, tuko na 125, tuko na 136, tuko na 188, tuko na 160, tuko na 148, tuko na 72, and then we have 118. So please, first of all of us, we must copy up to there. And the moment you finish copying up to there, could you kindly stand up and say yes? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, remember when you're using this Zoom, you need to be you don't even have to sit down for a whole 2 hours. No, walk around. Calculator. So, ladies and gentlemen, once I've done this is something, especially when I used to be an examiner, it is something that I used to really apply to ensure that I threw most of my students under the bus. That is, of course, heading towards what year? Passing. You know, when you throw somebody under the bus, what does it mean? This person, of course, will not be able to reach Canaan. So, you know, as an examiner, and myself as a student, we are in opposing sides. You as an examiner, you'll be given direct conditions here by maybe CIFA that would want, in this case here, of course, few people to pass. So, yako no kufinya. Yangu as a student, I would want to, most of us in this case here, survive. Right? Most of us in this case here should be able to pass. So as a good examiner, you must always know those areas that if you touch like this, you'll be able to flip the coin to ensure like 50% of the students here will go under the bus. And this is one thing that I used to make use of in those days. Ladies and gentlemen, you see here, they haven't given you between the two variables, which one is y and which one is x. Between the two variables, which one is y and which one is x. Gani y, gani x. Gani y, gani x. Kwa hizi variables, gani y, gani x. Pata potea. Ukinipatia hiyo jibu, sinafani kupatia zawadi. Fatima anasema number of calls x. Lilian pia anasema the same, Fatima the same. Turnover becomes y. Thank you very much, Grace. Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you ask those students why they're giving, for example, number of calls to be x, most of them will not be having an answer. Most of them will tell you that it is because number of calls happens to be the first column, and as per the chronological order, alphabetical order, then the first one should be x, the second one should be what here? Should be y. There is nothing that can be further from the truth than that. We must establish the dependence relationship. Which one depends on the other? Which one depends on the other? Which variable depends? So you must always establish the dependence relationship. So, ladies and gentlemen, listen and listen to me very well. If, for example, you go to a place like Kajiado, I love Kajiado so much. I love Kajiado so much because that is the place I've made now to be my home. Yes, Grace has pinned it. If, for example, you look at output of, let me just use any crop, output of maize, versus rainfall amounts. If you're given two variables of this nature, ladies and gentlemen, here I'm able to see very fast that rainfall amount depends on maize. Rainfall depends on maize. True? Rainfall depends on maize. True? No. No. It is the other way around. The output of maize that you're going to have in a particular season depends on rainfall. Ladies and gentlemen, rainfall, the amount of rainfall we're going to receive is an act of God. Whether you plant maize or cassava or grass or nothing, if rainfall is to be there, it has to be there. So rainfall is what here is independent. The one that depends on the other is maize. So the one that depends on the other on a Cartesian plane has to be plotted on the y-axis. The one that depends on the other. So ladies and gentlemen, here for sure, maize should be the y because it is the one that depends on who? Depends on rainfall. It is the one that depends on rainfall. And then, of course, after you have established now the dependence relationship, ladies and gentlemen, so rainfall in this case here, the other one becomes what here? X. No, we are not communicating, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see whether we are able to communicate here. Sales versus advertising. Sales versus advertising. Which one depends on the other? Which one should go to the y-axis? Is it sales or is it advertising? Is it sales or advertising? Which one depends on the other? Which one? Amount of sales, ladies and gentlemen, that you're going to generate for sure depends on, in this case here, depends on how you advertise. For instance, if you look at it right now, online classes in the whole of this republic, there is nobody, no college can ever defeat what here? RCM online. Why? Because Dr. Aura is very good in advertising. If I slumber a little bit in terms of advertising, our sales will do what here? Will go down. So then, gentlemen, you must always look at the variable that depends on the other. The one that depends on the other. Like now here, Y will be sales because sales is a dependent. It's a function that is being influenced by advertising. So look at this thing keenly. Look at this thing keenly. Which one depends on the others? And gentlemen, here, if you have ever worked in a hospital, getting payments from insurance here for the clients that you have been able to treat is never a simple thing. The people that you have at the bank, you must be having people will be making seriously follow-ups with who? With those insurance companies. Right? So then, gentlemen, calls that you make will be able to trigger our turnover. So sales automatically will be my what here, my Y. The other one, this number of calls, this is pretty similar to what here, to advertising. Ladies and gentlemen, I would want you to do me a favor. There is a question that we did with you here, which had X and Y, and it had 3 points. The one that we did, which had 3 points. B, or rather, X ilikuwa ngapi? Somebody, X ilikuwa ngapi? Oye, X ilikuwa ngapi? Hebu nikumbusheni, make reference to, and then of course after you make reference, it's important that we take a break for Maghrib prayers. No, I don't want the summations. I want the individuals. I want the individual items. Was it 6, 8 something? 6, 8 something. 6, 8, 13. How about summation of Y? Summation of Y, or not summation, but the Y parameters, the Y metrics. So inakuwa ni 7, 9, 15. 7, 9, and 15. So the gentlemen will take exactly 5 minutes break. 5 minutes break. When we come back, we shall be able to continue right away from here. And of course, after our break, I'll be able to show you how to make use of a calculator to get the summations. Because look at these numbers, they're very big. you start multiplying them, if you start squaring some of them, these numbers are very big. Why should we hustle that way? And yet CIFA has allowed us to make use of a calculator to get those summations. Ladies and gentlemen, this 1918 will come back after 5 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we continue here straight away. So, you know, like if you look at this example that we have, it's quite an extensive question with huge numbers. If you try doing like now square of x here, 950 squared, you really keep on writing many things. So you're supposed, in this case, to use our calculators to simplify our work. So then what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to pick our calculator like this, ladies and gentlemen. Please, there near on, you'll be able to see mode. Is there anybody who has been able to see that button called mode? Somebody say Y for yes. Is there anybody who has been able? Thank you very much. So when you click on that mode, when you click on the mode, either once, twice, or whatever, you'll be able to see reg. You'll be able to see reg. Reg for what? Reg for regression. Reg for regression. Calculator yako, hiyo reg chini yake iko namba gani calculator yako? Calculator yako, hiyo reg chini ya reg iko namba gani chini ya reg? Is it 2 or 3? Roba anasema 3, aha. Collins anasema 3, aha. John Kamau anasema 3. So 3. So you press 3. Iko mwanafunzi press 3. Ukipress 3, inakuuliza kitu gani kwa screen hapo? Imekuambia lugha gani? Inakuambia lugha gani? Kuna kalenda ambayo inaongea Kijapanese hapo. Ya inakuuliza, are you doing a linear regression, logarithmic regression, exponential regression? To us in business, we always do linear regression. Linear. Always, we don't do logarithmic. Always it's linear regression. So you say 1, because linear chini yake kuna 1. Yuko mwanafunzi amefika kweli hapo kweli? Yuko mwanafunzi amefika hapo kweli ama bado? Aha, Fatima anasema yes. James, yes. Those are few yeses. Robert, yes. Thank you very much. Now, thank you very much. Now, I want us to pick the first number to our operating memories of our calculators. So I would want us to say 6,7. There is a button somewhere there near the AC. Near the AC, there is a comma for separating numbers. So I would want you to press there 6,7. 6,7. 6,7. Ukisema 6,7, then we would want to enter this to the operating memory. Unasema M plus, just there about AC. There about AC, you'll be able to see M with a plus, M for memory. Is there anybody who is able to see that M plus? Is there anybody who is able to see that M plus? Thank you very much. When you press it once, after you've said 6,7, when you press it once, what are you, is there anybody who is being told there that N equals 1? Let's see. N equals, yeah. Aki wengine hapa waniongeleshi. Thank you very much. Great. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that straight away calls you to enter the second. So utakuja useme 8,9. Alafu unasema M plus 8,9. Unasema M plus 8,9. Unasema M plus 8,9. Unasema M plus. Is there somebody who has been told that this time round N equals? Thank you very much, Maureen. Thank you very much, Maureen. So we got the last one, which is 13,15. 13,15. 13,15. Alafu unasema M plus. What are you able to see there? Unasema M plus. What are you able to see there? M plus. Inasema N equals 3. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are things that I would want you to always remember when you're using this algorithm. Kwamba, there are 2 columns here which are very important for us. In regression, we have XY and then we have X squared. So, ladies and gentlemen, when they talk over this calculator, una create this column, unaandika hapa chini sum of X, unaandika hapa chini sum of Y, unaandika hapa sum of XY, unaandika sum of X squared, unasema equals like that. Great. Sasa hapa lazima ukuwe na ile macho ya kuona sawa sawa. Iko mama aliimba kwamba Mungu nipatie macho ya kuona sawa sawa, macho ndani ya kuona sawa sawa. Sasa ukiangalia vizuri juu ya button number 1, juu ya button number 1, kama uko na ile macho ambayo imekula carrot mzuri, there is some yellow right up that you have up there on top of button number 1. What are you able to see? Kama una macho mzuri hauwezi ukaona. Kama hujakula carrot mzuri huwezi ukaona. Ama kama for example, mchana ulipitia kwa kunywa kitu kingine ambayo iko mbali kidogo na maji, huwezi ukaona. So wananiambia juu ya number 1 kuna 𝑺𝒕𝒐. Na hiyo 𝑺𝒕𝒐 imeandikwa na kala gani? Kwa maana esa hiyo 𝑺𝒕𝒐 imeandikwa na kala gani somebody? Yellow. Yellow. Ikiandikwa na yellow inamaanisha namna gani? Calculate ikiandikwa na yellow. Ikiandikwa na yellow ama ni maridadi. Very good, Lilian. Thank you very much. Wakiandika na yellow inamaanisha for you to access that lazima useme shift. Thank you very much, Collins. For you to access that 𝒕𝒐 which is in yellow lazima useme shift 1. Nataka tuende pole pole, tuende pamoja. Iko mwanafunzi ashasema shift 1. Iko mwanafunzi ameshasema shift 1. Ukisema shift 1, what is now being displayed on your screen? What's being displayed on your screen? Mimi naona yangu inaniambia sum of x squared d. Iko mwanafunzi great, Fatima amesema tayari. Akisa mwanafunzi mmoja, Fatima amesema sum of x, ameona n. Aki wanafunzi wengi hata hawajaona chochote oye. Hawajaona. Kwa screen yenu Edna imeandikwa namna gani? Sisi kubali mko na majina mazuri mazuri kama alafu mniongeleshe. Lazima mniongeleshe, mimi ni baba yenu, hata mniambia happy Father's Day. James ananiambia kuna summation of x squared. Great. Great. Thank you very much. Now I can see students are really coming through to give me what they're able to see on the screen. So the very first one that I want in this unknown matrix is a summation of x squared. And the summation of x squared, you can see summation of x squared. If you're a good student, below sum of x squared, I can see a 1. Summation of x squared, I can see a 1. So what I'm supposed to do is to write 1 there. And once I write 1 there, you must be careful. When you write 1 there, you are seeing summation of x squared alone being left on the screen. When it's left on the screen, please, I've seen always students saying kwamba sum of x squared is 3. No. When it's left on the screen alone, it means that now you are at a position of evaluating it, of saying equals. You say equals. You say equals. So when you say equals, who is able to see that summation of x squared is 200? Mine could be wrong because, let me see. Summation of x squared. Please give me summation of x squared. What figure are you able to see? Robert tells me 269. Robert tells me 269. James has been able to confirm. James has been able to confirm. Because siku moja mwanafunzi fulani alinifurahisha sana. Kaniambia unajua mwalimu, mimi natoka pande za Kitui. Na kitu ikiwa yellow, mimi haiwezi kunishinda. So long as ni yellow, haiwezi kunishinda. Hiyo nimeshika sana. Ladies and gentlemen, anytime you want any sigma, what do? You must say shift number 1. Shift 1. I'll come back to pick you, don't worry. Shift 1, because I want another sum. So is there somebody who has been able to go back to shift 1? Is there somebody who has been able to go back to shift 1? Shift 1. Anytime you want any sum, you must go back to shift 1. Shift 1. Pata potea shift 1. Shift 1. So once I press shift 1, I'm able to see summation of x squared, summation of x and n. I'm interested in summation of x. Summation of x beneath the summation of x, I'm able to see number 2. So what I'm supposed to do is to press 2, and then summation of x is left alone on my screen. When it's left alone like that, I need to come slowly and say equals to evaluate it. James Areba tells me 27. Lillian tells me 27. 27, John Kamau. I don't know whether this student called John Kamau is somebody, a friend of mine, that I also taught at, is it Visions or wherever? Very many years ago. I don't know whether it's the same or is a new student. I don't know. So summation of x, when I summon 20, what here somebody? 27. Now, using that concept, could you kindly try evaluating summation of y for me? Anytime I want any summation, before I go back to pick the student, okay, no problem, don't come out. You'll also be my friend. I like friends, right? Anytime, ladies and gentlemen, I want to get summation of y, summation of any parameter, I'll always go back to shift 1. So when I say shift 1, what am I seeing there, ladies and gentlemen? When I say shift 1, I'm seeing summation of x squared, summation of xn. I don't want n. You know, n is very easy because n will be able to count. N, don't get it from the calculator. And like now, n, we know here n is 3. Fortunately, I can see that there is an arrow here pointing there, saying that there are more functions. There are more functions inside there. So the question is, how do I use this arrow? There is a button there which happens to be the biggest button in your calculator, like Mwalimu's head. I'm very privileged there. My head is very big. Yeah, when you have a big head, that's a privilege. So the biggest button, imeandikwa replay. Imeandikwa replay. Like, you just kuna wanafunzi wanapenda kunichekeza sana. Iko wanafunzi, but I think it's because they're very busy at their workplaces. Yani, hii kitu imesema, hii button inafaa kwenda wapi huko. Lakini utapata mwingine akiweka wapi? Akiweka hii ya huko, anafinya hii ya huko. Ni kama wale ukijaribu kufunza mtu kuendesha gari. Unaambia mtu kanyaga brake, yeye anakanyaga mafuta. Unaona gari imebonda ingine pa. Kwanza ni shida mama wako nayo sana, sijui kwa sababu ya uoga manini. Inakuwa international disaster. Sasa kitu na imekwambia uguze ile, unaguza hii. Sasa ni mambo gani hiyo? Right? So iko mwanafunzi ameguza hiyo replay ile proper one. Iko mwanafunzi ameguza replay proper one. Iko mwanafunzi ameguza replay the proper one. James anasema yes. So once you do that, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be able to see your screen changing power. When it changes like that, what are you able to see? You are able to see summation of y squared. You are able to see summation of y. You are able to see summation of xy. I don't want summation of y squared for regression. For regression, I don't want summation of y squared. For regression, I'll be interested in this and this. And how I wish I had a good student by now. This good student should have given me the value of sum of y. By now, this student should have given me the sum of y. Sum of y. By now, this student should have given me the sum of y. Robert tells me, Mwalimu, sum of y is 31. Is there anybody who can confirm that for sure sum of y is 31? Is there anybody who can confirm for sure that sum of y is 31? Is there anybody who can confirm for sure that sum of y is 31? Someone else. Lillian has confirmed Lillian is a good student. I will repeat. You see now, for me to be able to bring everyone on board, I have to start the process from scratch. Normally, how I do it, the ones who have followed a little bit, I finish with them 100%, and then I go back, and then I start again. Great. And they have even gone ahead to give me summation of xy as 309, as 309. Sum of xy, they've gone ahead to give me sum of xy as 3 what here, somebody? As 309, as 309. 309. So, ladies and gentlemen, then allow me to repeat very fast, but of course, as I repeat, the students who are following this recording, yours is very easy. You simply rewind the recording, right? And then, of course, if you're a good student who knows how to make use of videos, know when to pause. For example, when I reach a past paper question, I've mentioned that today we are doing May 2014 question 2C. A bright student will pause, get that question first. Even try to understand the question before you continue watching the video. Otherwise, if you don't do that, ladies and gentlemen, then this thing will not really help. You don't know how to make use of educational videos. You're supposed to be watching what here? Soap operas. Or in this case, these programs like Maria, which come at Citizen, which you can't be able to do what to pause. But for QA, you have to pause. You must know how to pause. You must know how to pause. You must know how to rewind, etc., etc., etc. So I expect the students who are watching this to pause.